coming to your local View this May. Prometheus sequel Alien Covenant drops the pretense and amps up the scares.
Pirates of the Caribbean, Salazar's Revenge pits the reunited cast against Javier Bardem's ghostly pirate hunter.
Jude Law stars in social drama Obsession, broadcast live from the Barbican Theatre.
And he joins Charlie Hunnam in Guy Ritchie's epic fantasy adventure, King Arthur, Legend of the Sword.
Hello, I'm Stefan.
I'm Rhianna.
And welcome to View's What to Watch this month as we run through the biggest and best films coming out in May. And we're going to begin with Ridley Scott returning with Alien Covenant. What do we know about this one?
Okay, so it's been 5 years since Prometheus came out, and we know that was sort of like an origin story, you know, much more philosophical, whereas this film looks so much more horror, you know, like the Aliens films that we know and love. So it's kind of like the Rogue One of the Aliens franchise, I think. It slots in between Prometheus and Alien. It stars Catherine Waterston, who we'll recognise from Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and she is playing like this sort of Ripley character, also a bit like Noomi Rapace in Prometheus. I think having another really strong female lead is exciting, and Ridley Scott knows how to direct those women.
To the Covenant! To the Covenant!
And also, because this is still a prequel to the Alien trilogy, it leads into so many different things that could potentially lead into stuff that we know so well. I mean, are we going to meet Ripley's mother? Are we going to see some xenomorphs in this movie?
Oh, I really hope so.
Yeah, so do I.
And all the little hints that we've seen in the trailers. I mean, the bit where they're in the shower and you just see this xenomorph tail coming out. I mean, that's so terrifying.
Which is why you need to see these films in a kind of collective experience, I think. There's nothing better than a movie like that makes you gasp and makes you scream and just makes you want to cover your eyes with your hands.
Pirates.
I once knew a Spaniard named something in Spanish.
From spaceships to pirate ships, Pirates of the Caribbean, Salazar's Revenge.
Oh, I can't wait. I mean, it's got the returning cast. I mean, we've got Jack Sparrow back, obviously Johnny Depp.
He never leaves.
He never leaves, which is a really good thing where this franchise is concerned, because he's the main
He's the
draw.
glue.
Your pants. Jack.
I'm so sorry, were you still talking?
And then you've obviously got Keira Knightley as Elizabeth Shaw, Orlando Bloom as Will Turner, and then obviously there's also Barbossa's back, so Jeffrey Rush will be reprising that role.
And his monkey.
And his monkey, of course.
Monkey.
So the idea is that Captain Jack Sparrow is trying to get his hands on the Trident of Poseidon, which will allow him to have control of all the seas.
I mean, that sounds fun. I'd quite like to get my hands on the Trident.
I'd like to control all of the sea, but then you'd have Salazar on your back, and he wants revenge. Now I don't quite know what his revenge is, but it's Javier Bardem, so it's going to be quite scary, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is.
Find Sparrow for me.
It's really great for new fans. It's like a sort of brilliant family blockbuster. It's the kind of film that popcorn was made for.
Yeah. It's that balancing of the kind of dark drama and yet the really kind of playful, quite irreverent humour that is what keeps people returning to this franchise and what should hopefully make this fifth instalment just as good as the last.
Pirate's life.
From pirate ships to relationships, View will be screening Obsession live from the Barbican for one night only. What is this one all about?
Okay, so Obsession is based on a film from the 40s, which was based on a novel called The Postman Always Rings Twice. And this stars Jude Law. And he plays this man who falls immediately in love with a woman. The only trouble is that she's married. So they concoct this plot to kill her husband. But the act of this sort of tears them apart, and it becomes this story of love and betrayal, and it's incredibly passionate. Obviously, it is amazing to go to the theatre and watch this kind of stuff, but to see it on the big screen, I think is so cool.
Yeah, because you get the best seat in the house, because I mean, don't get me wrong, it's fantastic to go to the theatre, but to get that nuance kind of in his face and the subtlety to his performance, which you can't necessarily get if you're there seeing it in person. And, you know, we've had so many fantastic stage to screen adaptations like War Horse and Les Mis, but it's really fascinating now to see it go the other way, and what that really sort of shows is how strong the narrative is in this.
What's so great about this is that it's moving away from traditional theatre, and you're getting so many more layers, because not only are you getting the direction and the actors on the big screen, but also someone has chosen really cleverly and specifically these angles to give us the best view and the best out of these performers, and you're not going to get that anywhere else.
It's a unique immersive experience, and I think I might even prefer it.
Oh.
You felt it, didn't you? The power.
Guy Ritchie is back with epic blockbuster King Arthur, Legend of the Sword. This kind of action fantasy is really hot at the moment with programmes like Game of Thrones and The Last Kingdom. So what can we expect from King Arthur?
Well, I think we can capture the essence of those shows you mentioned, which is that there's something really gritty and quite kind of filthy about the depiction of kind of medieval Britain. But at the same time, they always manage to implement a real sort of injection of enchantment. There's a license to be quite magical and fantastical, which I think that Guy Ritchie will definitely be using up in this endeavour. And obviously, as you mentioned, Jude Law is playing the villain, which will be interesting because he so often plays the good guys. It's quite interesting to see how he kind of connects with that particular role.
I feel like he's going to really let loose and be as nasty as possible.
Oh, I hope so.
When people fear you, it is the most intoxicating sensation a man can possess.
Charlie Hunnam is the lead. He's playing Arthur, and the idea behind this is that he's not really aware of his kind of royal roots, and he kind of has to work his way up to the top through the kind of back streets. And then he obviously gets the sword from the stone, and he becomes something of an anti-hero. He's almost quite resentful, I think, of his newfound powers.
Behold, the man who pulled sword from stone.
I'm not getting drawn into this mess.
And Guy Ritchie does do that kind of down and dirty in a really slick, fascinating way. Like, he makes everything look amazing on the big screen.
Also gracing the big screen this month, Anne Hathaway unleashes her inner monster in Colossal.
Miss Sloane, starring Jessica Chastain as a Washington lobbyist fighting for stricter gun control.
Amy Schumer and Goldie Hawn's mother-daughter holiday goes horribly and hilariously wrong in Snatched.
And Imelda Staunton performs in a live broadcast of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf from the Harold Pinter Theatre. To book tickets for these and many others, head to myview.com.